Welcome to Top Shelf. I'm David Pierce, and I'm here in sunny, smoggy, June gloomy Los Angeles. We're here on the floor of E3. It's the biggest video game convention in the world. And this promised to be one of the biggest ones ever. Microsoft and Sony are showing off all kinds of new stuff for their consoles. Nintendo has all kinds of convincing to do. And it seems like every game maker on the planet is around here somewhere showing off all the games it's coming out with this year. Microsoft kicked off the week with a huge press conference showing us game after game designed to run on the new Xbox One. We saw the TV and video game mashup Quantum Break, Forza 5 and its drive-atars, Battlefield 4 and its crazy exploding of everything in the world, and many, many other games. There's even a new Halo. We also saw a lot of smart glass, which figures heavily into the Xbox One plans, plus a new design for the Xbox 360. And most importantly, we got a price. The Xbox One is coming in November for $499. Sony came out later on Monday at another huge arena in LA and just started taking shots at Microsoft. The PS4, which we finally got to look at and play with, will cost just $399, and you'll be able to sell your used games. And the PS4 won't check to make sure you're online. Oh, and Sony has a great store for indie developers. Sorry, Microsoft. Sony did roll out a lineup of great-looking games, too, from the amazing open-world shooter Destiny to Watch Dogs, where your primary weapon is your cell phone. Sony's pitching the PS4 as the console for real gamers, while Microsoft's trying to be every entertainment device to everyone. The rest of the week was littered with great-looking games we couldn't play because they're not ready, and other great-looking games we couldn't play because the lines were way too long. Nintendo's new Mario Kart game is fun, but it's a Mario Kart game. Battlefield is ambitious, but not yet what we hope it will be, and FIFA 14 does look just as great as we thought. E3 is really only the beginning, though. This is just stage setting for the next few months, and especially for this holiday season when gamers all over the world can finally get their hands on the Xbox One and PS4. And for every answer we've gotten this week about the new consoles, we've only found more questions. So we sent our own Paul Miller to sit down with Scott Rohde, Sony Worldwide Studios' PlayStation Software Product Development Head, to get some answers.
You're launching a new console right here.
We are?
PlayStation 4. So this is the start of the next gen. I'm crazy excited for this year. What do you think defines next gen? What if you didn't know which console it was running on or the hardware behind it, you saw that game's next gen, that game's not. What would you say that is?
To me, it's about doing more of what we've seen on this generation. So it's not just, there's not some overall technology that's necessarily better, but overall the PlayStation 4 is more powerful. So for example, if you wanted to attach a deeper physics model to every single enemy that was on the screen and you want a higher volume of those, you can do that while you're also putting an advanced lighting model on the whole scene. All of it's bigger and better. That's what people are going to notice.
You guys have gotten this really great perception of being the one for gamers.
Yeah.
What is it about the games that made people walk away from these keynotes and think Sony's games are about gamers and Microsoft doesn't quite get it?
I think, man, there's a million ways to answer that question, and I think a lot of it is just some of the culture that's come through from a lot of the leaders in our group. It starts for me with Shu, who is my boss and is genuinely a gamer. I love to play games. Adam, who was on stage, loves to play games. So when we talk to devs, we don't go in with a spreadsheet and a calculator and say, okay, this is the profit margin on this game. We're talking about game features and how it relates to movies we've just seen and how it relates to other games. And did you see this? Did you see this mechanic in this game? And did you try this?
Not necessarily like game A, B, and C on PlayStation beat game A, B, and C on Xbox.
Absolutely not.
It's just it's an overall.
I think it's a general. It's what PlayStation stands for. I mean, again, I love to talk about this subject because you can say, look at a game like Heavy Rain when it first came out. Not a lot of places would approve development on that game because it doesn't quite make sense on the spreadsheet, but it advances our medium of games to a place that it hasn't been before. Goosebumps, right? So it's true, right? It's crazy. It's happened before.
You are getting goosebumps.
It's total. It's really. I mean that, right?
Yeah.
And when Shu says it, he means it. And when Adam Boyes goes out, he announces Transistor on stage, right? Today or last night.
I don't get Transistor at all. I don't have any idea what that is.
But you did get that it looked beautiful and different, right? So. The point is, the first time he sees that, he comes back, sends me a text, give me a call. Hey, you're not going to believe how cool this looks, right? And that just kind of goes on and on. We have to get this in the family, and then the devs see that passion, and it just becomes a two-way thing.
What happened to motion gaming for you guys. It's not really here at the show. You talked about it at the launch. You talked about your technology for the eye, but I've only seen one game here. In fact, most of the PlayStation 4s aren't plugged into an eye. And I think what is really a big issue for me is that the PlayStation 4 is not shipping with the eye as a default.
Well, to answer the last question, it's not something that we wanted to require our customers to purchase. It's also not something, certainly back to the previous point about creative vision and kind of freedom on teams, it's not something we wanted to mandate for every team as well. So we're kind of taking it one step at a time. If there are great ideas that come from great developers, either inside or from third parties or from indies, from you name it, we actually embrace that completely. But it's not something that we're going to cram down people's throats.
How did you guys feel when you got to say that word out loud? Or I don't know if that. It's kind of.
It's $3.99
it's more like
a word.
A sentence. It's a phrase. It's $3.99. Let's say it's a phrase.
So absolutely great. I mean, it was an amazing feeling. So this plan
people went nuts.
Absolutely, and we went nuts. I mean, we were kind of hooting just like everyone else because this plan has been in place for years. Developing a brand new console takes a long time. So with a goal that was kind of put in motion about 3 or 4 years ago, and you saw this at the February event where we talked about how we talked to all the different developers. What are you liking about the PS3? What would you like to see changed? That's all real. All that happened, and our goal was to build the most powerful console at a price that was affordable, and we set that target at $399. And all the great engineers in Japan, Mark Cerny was leading all those teams. Everything all came together. The game developers all came and said what they wanted. We made sure there was, 8 gigs of the fastest RAM out there. I mean, all these things that developers wanted, still managed to do all of that in a machine that was super slick looking and still did it for $399. That's why it's a moment that we're very proud of. And all that was accentuated when our competitors announced in the morning that it was $499.
How did that make you feel?
I mean,
were there high fives around the office?
Are you kidding me? So
like low fives, like fancy
well, we
handshakes?
were all in rehearsals all day. So at the sports arena where the E3 event was, the press conference. So some people are at the press conference. Everyone's looking at Twitter, everything, and as soon as it was announced, there's running up and down the aisles. Woohoo! Makes our announcement that much better.
So I just wanted to clarify the DRM stuff. There's been a little bit of confusion because you guys, again, to great applause. I really feel like you paid attention to Microsoft's announcements. To great applause, announced on disc you're going to allow people to, they're going to play used games, and they don't have to connect to the internet all the time.
Very clear policies. Jack laid it out pretty clearly.
Then you guys also said some stuff though about developers being able to set their own DRM. And I just want to clarify what that means, and also what the DRM policies are for digital.
It's not that developers are setting their own DRM. I mean, DRM. We set a very clear policy about physical used games, and there's a reason that kind of that 1-2 punch, just basically saying, look, they're your games, you bought them, you can play them on your machine at home, and if you want to play them at your friend's house, you take it to your friend's house and you play. The policy is very simple, and we're setting the precedent on definitely how we want all first-party games to act. And for me personally, I believe that, why would it make sense, right, for anyone to come up with a used game DRM policy that isn't fair to consumers?
Well,
right?
so there are there ways that your guys' policies right now contrast with the current gen, or are you guys
the same?
It's the
same.
Because we are seeing right in the current gen, like this game comes with an unlock code, so you get a special sword for the first person who buys it, or the online activation code.
That last
is that something
example,
that you guys are going to limit at all, or attempt to limit?
Okay, so 2 different questions. So first question, could a publisher come out with a special piece of content that is an unlock code that makes it more valuable to the first purchaser? Sure, that could happen. It still doesn't prevent secondhand sale of that
No,
game.
but I was just wondering if there's
sure.
any new ways you're going to try to discourage that, or
No, it's not our goal to discourage it. I think we came right out and said that the online pass, will go away because it requires a PS Plus subscription to play multiplayer online. Does it make sense for an online pass to ask you to pay again? It just doesn't make any sense, right? So that's why we came out very clearly and said that no more online pass.
okay.
Yeah.
Why does PlayStation Plus cost to play multiplayer now? People have been used to having maybe a subpar multiplayer experience on PlayStation, and also having that for free. So where's the balance there now that you have to pay for multiplayer?
If you're going to put it that way, I think that it
that's
does
the-
cost
that's
a
the
lot of
perception.
money to run a set of online services.
I guess that's what I'm asking.
Yeah,
Is
and
that
I
most
think
of the reason that you're moving that way?
Yeah,
So that
absolutely,
you can be
yeah.
better at multiplayer?
absolutely.
Okay.
If you're going to put
Just
it that
please
way,
tell me that you'll be better at multiplayer. That's all I
well,
want to do.
I think that is absolutely our goal. We want to provide a service that's very robust and that offers you all kinds of great value. And there's other services there too. And we're not going to do silly things like we're not going to put the movie services behind a pay gate because that doesn't make sense. You already pay for it, right? So we're treating this as fairly as we can, for all the customers out there, and making sure that they get a ton of value and that they do get a better service at the end of the day.
Is there any reason to believe that that the PlayStation 4 will be any different than the PlayStation 3 as far as your guys' own entertainment services?
Sony has this vast library of movies and music that no other publisher has. And so let's take advantage of it. Let's find new ways to take advantage of it. Let's make that PlayStation customer happier than any other customer out there. And what Michael did say on stage is that it's to his benefit that PlayStation 4 succeeds.
Is that going to be connected to PlayStation Plus in ways that people will be able to?
We're not announcing how all those things tie together. I mean, there's all sorts of different permutations
And
there.
what does gamer-friendly content mean? Like, what do gamers want?
I think what Michael was referring to is that there's obviously, when you think of kind of the stereotypical hardcore gamer, you kind of think of a certain genre of movies. I think that's what he was referring to.
So it's just going to be all the Fast and the Furious movies.
If there's no zombies, it doesn't make it on. No, no, but
Okay.
in that
But
general
that's
vein,
the vibe. Okay.
Yeah, and I think who knows what that means. I think that gamers like a pretty wide variety of movies.
So, Gaikai, I assumed Gaikai was coming, the game streaming was coming at launch. So why is that being delayed, or is that being delayed?
It's a service that's going to continue to grow over time, and I think that it's it's still a relatively new technology, and understanding how that's going to work with PlayStation content on not just PlayStation machines, but on all sorts of other devices. There's still a lot that has to be worked out, and that was Andy's point. He was verifying that it'd be on all devices, your smartphone, your tablet, all that stuff, but that it would continue to grow over time. I mean, they're part of the family now.
And it's launching early 2014?
Yes, that's what he announced.
And you guys talked about select classic PS3 games being playable over Gaikai.
We haven't announced exactly which. I think Andy's just making a point that we're going to start there. And again, that library is going to grow. There's so much in the PlayStation library from 17 years.
Backwards compatibility has been something that has been overpromised, underdelivered by everybody in the industry all the time.
Yeah.
Is there any reason to believe that it's going to be better this time? People will still be playing PS3 games? Because I don't know if I have room for a PS3 and a PS4 and an Xbox 360 and an Xbox One in my
Well,
cabinet.
don't buy the last two then. So,
Problem solved.
so again, that is part of the goal, is that Gaikai will not only reach out to a whole different set of folks out there, but that it might satisfy some of that need to play some of your older games.
This is a total tangent, but I'm a huge Twitch TV fan.
Yeah.
When you guys announced Ustream,
Yeah.
I was really excited about that because
Yeah.
I think I love enjoying games vicariously and watching people play.
It's cool.
But then Microsoft announced Twitch, and I'm a Twitch guy.
Yeah.
That's where I go every night, and
Yeah.
Twitch, games me to sleep. Were you guys surprised that Microsoft announced Twitch streaming? And do you think that's just obvious?
I don't know if that's obvious, but I don't know that we were surprised either. I mean, this is an industry, this is the week when everyone announces all their deals and associations with all these other technologies and companies. So things happen. I mean, was Microsoft surprised when we announced Redbox and Flickster? I don't know.
Your service is a little different in that someone can jump in and play your game, right? Eventually through Gaikai. Is that the
that
idea?
that is kind of the long-term goal there. It's a pretty interesting idea. I think someone is going to come and help you out with something you're having trouble with. That's pretty neat.
And so that will all happen through the console interface. You're watching somebody over their shoulder, and then you press a button and take over.
Yeah, again, that is the long-term goal.
That's the long-term goal.
Yeah.
And then, will that happen when Gaikai launches, or maybe even longer than that?
Not 100% sure.
Okay. You said you get these sort of vertical slices of these games in their early stages, and obviously these are all still pretty early. Are there any that you get to have a good time, PS4 crazy next-gen games that you can go into your office right now and sit down and have a good time with?
I mean, you can do that with everything that you saw at the show. Like those were live gameplay demos that you saw when you walked in last night. So yeah, all those games, I can play those same sections. It's just I can't wait until all that stuff is revealed because I'm really excited about how that looks in that game. So absolutely.
All right.
All right.
Cool. We'll look forward to that. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Take it easy.
So there's this buzzword being thrown around, next gen. We've seen next gen games, we've seen next gen consoles, it's really just all next gen everything. But what does that actually mean? We've seen dozens of games of every shape and size, but what makes them next gen? We sent Sean Hollister, our resident next gen expert, to find out.
What's a next generation game, really? We came to E3 2013 to find out. Here we've got the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, PCs galore. But what are these games all about? Of course, better graphics play a role. Xbox and PlayStation developers are competing to build the most photorealistic virtual cars we've ever seen, and most every PS4 and Xbox One game looks way better than games built for the previous generation of consoles. Characters and environments are more richly detailed, and where many PS3 and Xbox 360 games didn't even technically run at 720p, full 1080p HD is practically a given now. And what could be more glorious than exploring a giant open world at 1080p? Assassin's Creed Black Flag, Dead Rising 3, even Metal Gear Solid 5 are promising huge environments to explore, whether you're sailing a pirate ship around the Caribbean, hiding from hordes of zombies in a giant city, or navigating Afghanistan by horse. Those vast worlds are also more interactive and immersive than ever before. Some promise to let you carve a path through the world, dynamically changing the environment, while others simply put armies of characters on screen at the same time. Those characters might not just be cannon fodder either. They could each have their own backstory and make you think twice about shooting them in the back of the head. Even as open world titles do away with the idea of breaking games into levels, the graphical power and speed of next-gen machines are helping to bridge the gap between cutscenes and gameplay. While there's still work to be done, it may no longer feel like you're watching one game and playing a different, less graphically impressive one. While we're talking about seamless experiences, how about throwing multiplayer into the mix? Several studios are working on titles that allow friends, or bitter rivals, to seamlessly join your ostensibly single-player game, while others are trying to build multiplayer games that feel like they have a real narrative. When you turn off your next-generation console or PC, the game won't necessarily end, at least not if you've got a companion app for your smartphone or tablet. You'll create worlds, command armies, and remotely help your friends, or use the device as a virtual reality GPS so you don't get lost in a virtual world. We're just beginning to see what next-gen games are capable of here at E3 2013, looking at the work of developers who began building these games with only a hunch about the possibilities on tap, and even then we're only seeing the initial versions of these games they created. There's still plenty left to explore.
So we've seen next-gen games, we've seen the next-gen consoles, and now all that's left is to actually play the things. So that's it for our show this week. Thanks to Scott Rohde from Sony for being here, and of course to Sean Hollister and Paul Miller. We'll be back next week, but unfortunately for now, I have to go. I've been staying at a Super 8 for way too long. We'll see you next week.